Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here, and I'm half a theater geek.
I'm Monkey, and I am a full theater geek.
And together, we're 1.5 theater geeks.
I mean, this is from the last time, but whatever. I still like to use it when I show up here. Hey!
Monkey, this is like one of the few podcasts on the channel that we haven't like generically wrapped into like, all right, it's just another podcast on the channel. Like 1.5 theater geeks is special. Like we're still, I don't know if you noticed, but we've kind of like stopped titling all the podcasts, like categorizing all of them. They're kind of like under more generic names now.
Right.
But 1.5 theater geeks is here to stay, Monkey. That and Talking Mr. Banks. I'll never get rid of those two.
Yeah, the sad part is now we'll never know which episodes from here on out are episodes of the Florida Project without clicking on them.
Oh, God.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry, Adventure Bluted.
All right. So, Monkey, about a week ago, you got back from a pretty exciting trip. You were in Broadway.
Yeah, I made it back. Wow, what do you know?
That was a weird way to say it. Broadway. Like a question.
I mean, you could have said it as Broadway.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I know it feels kind of elitist, like, oh, I got to go to Walt Disney World and Broadway in the same summer, but seriously, I'm as surprised as anyone.
Yeah, well, I'm going to Walt Disney World twice in the same year, so, you know.
Yeah, that is pretty damn awesome.
You're right.
Yeah,
especially when it's my first and second time going to Walt Disney World.
And it's fucking Disney World.
Yep. I have less than 30 days until I can start reserving fast passes, Monkey.
Hurrah!
I'm so excited. Like at this point, it's getting tangible. You know what I mean? Like, remember when I was at like the 150-day point and I was like, oh man, it still feels like forever away. At this point, no, it doesn't feel like forever away. It feels like it's coming.
Yeah.
Anyways. But honestly, Monkey, like 3 months out and I'm still like, I'm already getting like post-trip anxiety.
I thought you were going to say post-trip depression.
No. Well, I'm getting like anxiety about post-trip depression.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm just like, it's going to be awesome, but then that fucking plane ride back is going to suck. All right, Monkey, so let's just jump onto it because I am pretty darn exhausted and I still need to watch Better Call Saul tonight, not to date the podcast, so let's just jump right into it. Do you want to talk about your plane ride or do you want to just start when you get to New York?
I mean, you know, had a nice-ish flight enough. Like
I have one thing I want to bring up with the plane ride, all right?
Yeah?
So you guys had a layover in Vegas.
I think I know where you're going with this.
And you told me that you did a little gambling.
This time, oh yeah.
So I want to know what the gambling in the Vegas airport was like, Monkey.
You know, it's slot machines. I mean, I expected to just do one, but like just do one round of it to be safe, and that is not what happened.
It's funny, Monkey, because you don't drink and everything. I didn't take you for a slots guy.
I mean, I've only been in like a casino, like say what, 3 times in my life?
Okay.
Although the second wasn't entirely intended. One of them wasn't entirely intended. That was the other time where I had a Vegas layover in relation to a New York trip, except this one went as planned.
Well, you know what's interesting is that I'm still planning a trip to Vegas, probably sometime in early next year. And one of the interesting little like random tidbits I came across on my trip planning is that apparently the payout on the slot machines in the Vegas airport is bogus.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like apparently you almost never win money on those things.
Kind of clever.
So did you win any money?
I think in the like I guess a tiny bit. Like the first round I did, I got my money back, both of them.
And
then I gambled it away. I think, but yeah, like by the time I officially wrapped up with them, I managed to end up with like 65 cents in winnings.
Nice. You can buy yourself nothing in New York.
Yeah, it was neatly, getting
Absolutely nothing.
It was nice getting a glimpse of like, the Vegas scenery,
Sure,
like say
sure.
Camelot, Excalibur, the pyramid, the fake New York.
Oh, wait, could you see that like landing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Nice, nice. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure like how far out the Vegas airport was from Vegas.
That's relatively nearby.
Well, I mean, it's better than Garrett, who had to land at the frickin' hellhole that is the Denver airport.
Oh yeah. He didn't get to see all the creepy stuff though.
Nope.
So.
But
Yeah. Thing which wish he was here.
yeah, seriously, Garrett, you're not a cast member anymore, so you have no excuse to not be on these podcasts if you're listening.
Yeah, we could have another 2.5 Theater Geeks where you talked about your trip and we shared shows so we could hear two perspectives.
And frankly, Monkey, I don't want to discount your trip right off the bat, but frankly, Garrett's trip sounded epic.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he did perform off Broadway, so it's
yeah. Yeah,
right.
But now, ironically, you have to settle for me in joke not everyone will get. You're welcome. So anyway.
Okay, Monkey, so let's just start.
Yeah, I flew out. I watched Mulan both ways because it was available. They also had Wreck-It Ralph, but I didn't come in at the right times, so yeah. They also had Infinity War, but no, I don't want to watch that on an airplane.
Why? Because it's like a catastrophe?
Pretty much.
I hear you. Well, Dragon, I'm sorry, I called you Dragon. Monkey, I watched...
Well, actually, Tiki, you see, I'm Monkey. You need to get your identity straight, man.
Oh, God. I watched the Will Ferrell... I watched the Will Ferrell, Tina Fey tour de force, The House.
Right.
Yes. And I'm actually really fucking glad I watched that because one of the actors in that movie came to Petaluma for a comedy set that I got to see.
Right.
So wasn't that funny? Like, just the most... and I swear to God, The House is like the ultimate airplane movie.
Yeah.
Like, it is the ultimate airplane movie.
Anyway, so, landed in New York, and, this was fun. I was wondering, like, okay, so what's going to be the first taxi top ad for a Broadway show I see? SpongeBob. It was
nice. Nice.
Yeah. And we arrived we landed we were leaving the airport say around midnight.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a nice drive into the city, through the Queensboro Bridge and into Times Square. So I had a moment not quite on the excitement level you had, but kind of my own, I'll be there tomorrow, Knots!
Oh, God.
Again, not on the level you had, but just SpongeBob at Marquee, I'll be there tonight or tomorrow, semantics, whatever. And of course, because we were there so early, our room would not be ready for several hours.
Going to compare it to when I shed tears the first time I saw Spaceship Earth in the distance. Which is something that actually happened.
I know. It's lovely. Yeah.
I'm actually kind of getting a little misty-eyed just thinking about that, to tell you the truth. Anyways.
Wonderful. So it's it was probably 1-something in the morning by now, so of course our rooms aren't ready.
Oh, God.
I am, I guess it worked out doing this because because my first show of the trip was a matinee, so it was hey, make sure I'm here in time for that.
And
it's an option. Okay, that could be a thing worth pursuing. We just hang around for a few hours. I guess it hadn't really occurred to us what say hang around for a few hours would mean.
Right.
But so now I can cross being eating at a New York McDonald's after 2 a.m. off the bucket list. I don't know why it would be on that list, but it happened. I didn't even get anything major, just an ice cream. That's all I got.
Did you count the homeless people in there by any chance?
I didn't think to.
Were there a lot?
I don't know. There was some interesting clientele in there that night.
There's a McDonald's in Reno that's infamous. It's so bad.
I still remember this one guy at the McDonald's near the El Capitan, or near Ripley's.
But Kermit, I don't want to go back to Reno. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, it was weird. That ice cream was bigger than I expected. And what was it? Like, I saw McDonald's ice cream around here a few days ago back in SoCal, and it was not as big.
Well, like the standard soft serve cone?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like
No, the ice creams here
honestly
really
would have
aren't big at
preferred
all.
that. I honestly would have preferred that smaller size because that big one, that was a bit too much. So yeah, we hang around in the lobby for a few hours trying to get some rest without, actually being asleep on the couches because, the hotel people weren't crazy about that.
Yo, God.
I mean, they were nice about it, but yeah. So yeah, eventually, 6 a.m. something rolls around. Okay, Westway Diner is open now. Let's go get breakfast, and we did that. We made and then later once it opened, or just before it opened, actually, we made our way to Top of the Rock at Rockefeller Center. Yeah, it'd been hoping to do this on previous trips. Never did. Finally did. Glad we did.
Nice.
Yeah,
Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite as high as Empire State Building, but honestly, I like it a bit better. I mean, Empire State Building is still pretty cool, of course, but say Top of the Rock has better fall protection.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just, some bars that still feel a bit off. Like, it's these big glass panels.
Sure.
And you can see Empire State Building. And Statue of Liberty. Don't think you could have seen that. It was funny. You look through the binoculars and you can see the people on the viewing platform of the Empire State Building.
Oh, wow.
That was neat.
Yeah.
And also, and what was it? And the elevator was pretty cool. It's like you get in and then it seems like a normal elevator and then closes, and then right before it starts traveling, the ceiling goes transparent so you can see up the shaft, and it's got all these and it's got all these colored lights in there, and they project some NBC shit onto the ceiling, but but that's not as cool as it could be. But yeah, it's not a short ride, I'd say. Big building, goes a while.
Well, you know what? The elevator at the Walt Disney Family Museum might only take you up one floor, but my God, is it epically themed.
Uh-huh. Well, it doesn't have a little genie movie in there, does there, like Disney Quest?
No, it's supposed to recreate Walt's train ride to LA.
Oh, okay.
And so you get in and it's like a train and you hear Walt's voice like, well, I decided we had to move the company out to Hollywood.
Oh.
And then the doors open and you're in Hollywood, like you see the Hollywood land sign and everything.
I thought you said we got to move this to Holland.
Oh God. I'm from Holland. Isn't that weird?
But yeah, like seeing up the shaft, that had some Tower of Terror flashbacks.
Right.
Yeah, so I did that. Peeked into the Lego store and for the first time the Nintendo store, and I realized just how little of Nintendo I know.
Yeah. Every time that me and Garrett geek out about Switch in our group chat, you're always just like, and I know nothing.
I mean, I thought I knew, a general grasp on Nintendo stuff, but I felt like, what's all this?
Right.
And
we have a lot of amiibos.
What are amiibos?
My point exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, so was it? And we also had time, so we stopped by the library. So we'd stopped there before the first time we'd been there, but this time there was a particular exhibit in there I did not know they had, so I wanted to check it out. And it's in the children's section, so you got to deal with all those small children who are noisy and possibly sick. But and it's crowded. I mean, even with but yeah, so they have Christopher Robin's dolls.
Yep.
The actual Edward Bear and Tigger and Eeyore and such. Yeah, that was neat. And this isn't a major stop, but you know me, I like to poke into the theater lobbies sometimes, or whatever box office areas, New York with your lack of lobbies. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so this time I stopped Like at one point I stopped into the Nederlander Theater's lobby and I could feel, oh, I am feeling the Rent history.
Yep, you mentioned that.
Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate
And you don't
that.
even like Rent that much.
What don't I think about Rent?
Exactly.
But hey, place of theater history. It's history.
Indeed.
So, anyway,
history is happening in Manhattan.
And it has its eyes on you.
God.
But that's 5 streets up and 2 trips ago.
I can't believe that was 2 trips ago for you.
It's so weird. Yeah. What is it? This trip had at least one of the cast members we saw, who I'll get to.
Yep.
So, yeah, our room was already around 11 or something. So yeah, I got like.
So now I'm curious, Monkey. You get in at 11. And,
or 11 something. Yeah.
And so, how much time do you actually have to rest before your matinee?
I think I had like 45 minutes or so.
Oh man, you poor soul.
I got rest.
But I mean, did you guys even sleep at all?
I think this was my sleep, is what I mean by rest.
So were you like running on adrenaline the first day, basically?
Kind of. I mean, is adrenaline really the word? You know, tired and such. I think Top of the Rock helped with some energy, though.
Cool.
And I picked up a banana in Whole Foods at one point, so hey.
All right.
Bananas and whatever stuff potassium gives you. The toppings consist of potassium benzoate. Anyway, so the first trip of the show, which I do not have images of because I didn't think ahead and I hadn't planned to use images anyway, but whatever.
Did you goof that up intentionally?
What do you mean?
You said the first trip of the show, not the first show of the
I did not intend that. The first trip of the show, you know, like, the curtain rises, someone comes out like, oh, he trips. You know what? Like no, this, ironically, this is not the trip where I saw the play that goes wrong.
It's like a 7th inning stretch, right? It's like the first act trip.
But no, I mean, if this was from the last trip, like, we could talk about it. Or if Garrett was here, he saw a play that goes wrong.
Yeah, Garrett. I hope Garrett is the one viewer watching. I really do.
He's like, well, yeah, it's a Garrett, but not our Garrett.
Oh God.
I just happened upon this, and I am offended by what you're not saying about me.
All right.
What you're saying about not me.
Okay, anyways,
anyway,
first show of the trip, Monkey. First show of the trip. Come on, let's make this timely.
Right. It is the classic non-Q mainstay, Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, I thought SpongeBob was your first one.
The first new one.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. My bad.
So Phantom was the first one of the trip. Like, the scheduling of everything is put it there. And
so you've seen this, what, like 3 or 4 times at this point?
This is 4.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like I said, the one non-Q show that's I've ended up seeing every time I've made it out to NY. Means enough to me, apparently. And yeah, it was so... I mean, this was probably the best thing about having it as the first one. Because, like, I mean, yeah, even though it's like, it's a theater I've already been in. But on the other hand, it was so damn good to be back at the Majestic Theater. So good to be back. And it's the show, it's still Phantom, still lovely. Now I'm a bit, for me, it's kind of like, yeah, I know the show now, so it's a little routine, but, it's still good stuff.
Of course.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like, it's probably the most that I've been affected by the last 10, 15 minutes or so. Like, like say the final layer to be safe, like definitely that, and probably the most I've gotten out of Point of No Return, like just before that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, good on them. Props to them that it's still so affecting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Phantom. It's a
That
classic.
Is it the same production that's been playing the whole time?
Oh yeah, like it turned 30 back in January.
That's crazy.
Longest running Broadway show in history.
That's insane, dude.
I know.
And you know what? God. Getting the band back together almost beat that record, Monkey. Can we just briefly talk about getting the band back together?
I guess.
It's just like you mentioned that name to me, and I'm just like, that is the fucking worst name of a Broadway show I have ever heard in my life. Like, who is going to fly out to Broadway where you have like your choice of the litter of like the best entertainment in the world and see a fucking equivalent to like a fucking wedding singer show? I don't know.
The Wedding Singer did become a musical at one point.
So I'm not saying the movie. I'm saying like something like getting the band back together seems like the equivalent of a wedding band at Broadway. You know what I mean? Okay. Like, all right, there's all this world-class entertainment, and then there's this fucking crappy cover band.
Like, I'm just gonna say, like, my thought, my best wishes to the actors. I'm sure they were,
of course.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, that show is gonna wrap it up in a couple weeks.
Yep. All right. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, a Phantom. We did that, and then another show Man-Eating Wreath saw, but he's not here to talk about, and it's his first time, so I'm sure he had a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so yeah. And then we got to the first show of the trip, and honestly, the one that kind of inspired this particular trip in the first place. SpongeBob Squarepants! Da-na-na-na-na-na!
Yeah, I was watching some behind the scenes stuff with this. I got to admit, I'm not crazy about the music, but the production values look astounding.
Oh yeah, like the staging especially is so good. It's actually kind of something that kind of surprised me was that there was a moment towards kind of like in the opening number when like the whole ensemble joins. There was a moment where it's like some of them were coming through the aisles, and it gave me a thrill akin to The Great Comet.
Oh, nice. Awesome, man. That's great.
Yeah.
I know how much that show means to you.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, except for the lobby of the Palace Theater, this was like my favorite show of the trip. Yeah, I mean, again, the Palace Theater is going to get renovated finally soon, which is partially why Sponge is unfortunately going to close soon. And it's weird with that renovation is that it's been, it was announced like a couple of years ago, and then is that ever going to happen? Is that ever going to happen? And no, you're doing Sunset Boulevard. Okay, so are you going to do it now? Like, are you going to do it now because, Disney wants a home for Frozen? No, you're doing SpongeBob. So, okay, you're not renovating, and then Disney will take Frozen elsewhere. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you weren't there, knowing you and crowds and such. Because imagine, like, well, again, Palace Theater actually has a lobby, so good for them on that. But it's like, pretty cramped, a lot of people, and flies coming in from Times Square. But I mean, once inside the doors, it's great. I mean, so yeah, I thought it was a solid, well-handled adaptation of the cartoon, where, it's faithful to the cartoon, but it's not just a carbon copy or like just impersonations of the characters. Like, I don't know, say that weird sponge that could fly tour from the other side of the hemisphere.
Right.
Like where you have someone in some weird Squidward costume. And yes, Squidward is great.
So I've seen, like, just looking at the actor and his mannerisms and like the brief clips, it's like, yeah, that's totally Squidward.
And the costume, of course.
Uh-huh.
Would you believe it's the same actor who was Bird in Mary Poppins?
I could see that.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was the original Bert in
Nice.
London and Broadway. And also props to, just a little shout out to Alan K. Washington. He normally plays Larry the Lobster, but when I went, he was on for Plankton. He was a natural. So glad I saw him in the role.
Cool.
Yeah, that would be cool if he does the tour and as Plankton. And also, like, the show has it's got a nice message for the times, about, togetherness and, not, and getting along or whatever. But like in the sense of, say, even stuff like, would you believe that Sandy becomes the victim of racism?
Yeah, I could kind of buy it.
Yeah, like to get his plan going, like Plankton like gets everyone to distrust her by putting like, she's not even from here.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because she's essentially an immigrant in Bikini
Yeah.
Bottom. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Would you also believe Mrs. Puff goes on a bender?
Of course I can believe that, Monkey.
and yeah, it could probably, work well for those who haven't watched the cartoon. Like, maybe not quite as well, but they could still get something out of it. Hold on. It's sort of funny, like, because there are some reference, there's some, like, they said that line from the cartoon, like, in there. And, like, there's one towards the end that, like, got this, I think it got cheers. And I could imagine, like, it's the line that comes to mind in particular, where I could imagine people who don't know the cartoon being like, why did that get such a huge reaction?
Right.
But yeah, I gotta admit, like, because like during the, like, before the show starts, Patchy's hanging around the theater.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about Patchy. How does Patchy factor in?
At the beginning, he's hanging around and he's got to see, he's like, he's there to see the show, but security kicks him out. Like, he was taking selfies and such.
Oh god, that's perfect.
Yeah, and that's how they also work in the no cell phones announcement. And then at the top of Act 2, he shows up, he sneaks back into the theater and tells us like how like he wound up at this pirate dive bar on 9th Avenue in Hell's Kitchen, and the other pirates were like, yeah, this is wrong. So they all show up to tell us about, like, complain about how they've been mistreated. And you have this, which leads into the poor pirates number. And yeah, I won't lie, when I first noticed, I'm first noticing Patchy in the crowd, my inner child was thrilled to see Patchy live, to see Patchy in person.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, I am in the, and also, like, this show in particular had a bit of an educational element for me because the director is like this noted theater figure who's like, kind of put out some of the stuff that I learned. So yeah, so like, okay, I'm looking for some of that stuff. But yeah, so SpongeBob, that was a good one. I'm so glad I made it to see it. And it definitely worked out. It was a good one. I recommend catching it when it goes on tour or something.
Especially on its, like, I'm glad you caught it on its original run, when it
seems
like the original run, like, would have lasted longer had it not been for that weird, like, theater renovation thing.
Yeah, and maybe it would have cost too much to move to another theater or something. And maybe the money wasn't there. Like, maybe the box office wasn't there. I don't know.
Oh, I can't imagine SpongeBob being anything less than a box office hit.
Oh, I mean, there is a bit of a stigma to it, of course.
Broadway culture, but
I mean, of course, there's that stigma of like, oh, they're putting SpongeBob on as a Broadway musical. How commercial! But
I feel like it's.
I don't think. from what I can tell, the actual making of it wasn't quite like that. Like, there was definitely, you know, artistic quality to the making of it. But yeah. And of course, you know,
like
see it in
SpongeBob
here.
is a show that would play super well to tourists, not so well with the local crowd.
Maybe. And it'll probably also, you know, get a life in licensing. I mean, I'm also glad I made it to see this one, you know, for, say, the way they decorate the theater.
Sure.
Yeah,
but I mean,
like,
not to rub salt in the wound, Monkey, but it's not like Great Comet where it's basically impossible to tour.
Yeah. And you know, that was also something nice about the house decor on this one was that, like, you know, I loved Comet, but unlike that one, like, it doesn't totally transform the house. You can still see parts of the architecture, so I can geek out over seeing, like, look, there's that P above the box. What would be the boxes?
God.
So, I think that is... Yeah, also, had the best leg room out of the Broadway houses of the trip.
All right.
So, yeah, skip a day. Well, I mean, to the next day, where, you know, Little Central Park stopped to see Bethesda because I know Angels in America now. And then that night was I should probably we should probably leave Man-Eating Wreath out of this now.
Okay.
I mean, at least not put it on as hard.
Yeah, right.
We love you! So, because that night was... Hello, Dolly!
Oh, God.
And maybe not my best Carol Channing voice at the moment, and it wasn't even Channing, it was Bette Midler. So...
Monkey,
no! Bette Midler!
To me, it's absolutely impossible to think of Hello, Dolly without associating it with Wall-E.
Yeah, I can't blame you. So...
But I'm going to take a stab and say that maybe Hello, Dolly was not one of your favorites of the trip.
In a way. I mean, it's still definitely a fun one. I don't think it ranks up as high for me as some of the others would, but, you know, it's still a good one. I'd still hope to see on tour. It's definitely a cheesy, old-fashioned musical, but...
Hey, man, I fucking love South Pacific. I love cheesy, old-fashioned musicals.
Yeah. Although that one's not as much as a musical comedy. Like, say you got all the townspeople out, you know, gathered around, like, standing around, like, a call on Dolly, and then the, like, you know, horse and carriage comes in. Oh, yeah, by the way, there is a fucking train on stage in this
Really?
show.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Like, I think I figured there would be some sort of train, but I didn't expect, like, say, the front engine car of the Disneyland Railroad to appear.
Okay, that kind of reminds me of, like...
I'm probably overstating it, but yeah, it's like, oh my God.
That reminds me of, like, an inverse of something I experienced in theater recently, which is, so I went to go see a production of Dr. Horrible Sing-Along Blog. And, you know when Captain Hammer appears for the first time and it's like all triumphant, it's like, stand back everyone, nothing here to see. Well, in my production, Monkey, the dude just literally comes out on a Razor scooter. I'm just like, wow, that's a little underwhelming.
Anyway, so yeah, but I say what helps with Dolly is that, you know, maybe it's the direction, so that even though, yeah, this is cheesy, but it is still a lot of fun. It's still pretty funny. And also the character of Dolly is a fun one. I know, like, at least personally, I love how she's, like, manipulating everything that's happening.
I got to admit, I know nothing about Hello, Dolly outside of Wall-E. Wall-E is where my familiarity begins and ends.
Yeah, so basically imagine, like, you know, David Hyde Pierce is getting married to a hat seller, and then Bette Midler's, you know, the matchmaker, but she's secretly planning to marry Hyde Pierce. And then meanwhile, Hyde Pierce's employees, like, sneak out for the day while he's in town so they can have a fun day on the town, but they don't want to get caught.
So how was Bette?
Good. And it's like very enjoyable.
There's one person in particular I'm really excited to hear about, but we'll get to that.
From this show?
No, from another show you saw.
Okay. And yeah, God, this scene that's kind of just beautiful in a way, like especially I guess say maybe in terms of acting, like kind of like say whatever specificities Bette Midler used for it was how like this one part where it's like they've moved on to the next scene and they're waiting for her to say something and she's still there like in like some of the set left over from the last scene, like from some cafe scene. She's just like eating her meal like nothing else is going on and it goes on for a while. Funny stuff. Yeah. And of course, David Hyde Pierce did nicely as well.
Oh shit, David Hyde Pierce, nice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, when you were talking about him, I know I heard David Hyde Pierce, but when you were talking about him, I actually got like someone was calling my phone, so I was a little distracted. So.
Oh. Yeah,
David Hyde Pierce. Awesome.
Yeah, he was nice at the stage door too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people came out. Like maybe 3 of them signed, but and didn't have time for pictures. But whatever, they don't have to stage door anyway. So
sure.
But yeah, Hyde Pierce was a good performance, nice at the stage door, and yeah, so it is. And of course, with like a lot of these productions in general, it's nice. It's a cool thought of the ones I saw. Like, yeah, when people talk about these productions in the future, I got to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say, this particular Hello Dolly, for instance. And it was kind of crazy. This was like I happened to be at their 3rd to last performance.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And of course, the Schubert Theater is beautiful inside. I mean, not like some of them probably don't have the best sidelines seats, and the legroom isn't very much. But beautiful interior design is beautiful interior design. And as always, history of the theater. So yeah, someone sat in my seat back when Chorus Line opened to watch that. And it was so crazy to think, like, say, watching these people, it feels very, modern day, even a touch futuristic. Yeah, there's these people on stage there with these costumes. It doesn't feel old. And yet this, like, whoever saw like the original Hello Dolly would have been getting the same kind of experience. Like the same kind of seeing these people thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, I think that sums it up.
If I don't like respond to you right away, it's just because I'm like I'm engaged in what you're saying. I'm just very tired, so I don't have the energy for like clever segues or anything. So you're just kind of have to segue yourself. I apologize.
I don't own a Segway.
God. There's a surprising amount of fucking segues in Petaluma.
Slightly off topic, but you know what? I'm not gonna go into full detail here so nobody hears this and steals my idea, but let's just say a production of Les Mis that involves Javert riding around on a Segway.
Oh my god.
Like he comes in like, another brawl in the square, another street in the air was there.
It's specifically Russell Crowe reprising his role.
No, it doesn't have to be Russell Crowe.
Yes, it does have to be Russell Crowe.
We'll talk about this later, maybe.
All right, fine.
Yeah, so. So, moving on to the next show of the trip, My Fair Lady.
I forgot you even saw this one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I won't deny it. Out of the ones I saw, I'd probably rank it the lowest. It might have also been a case of like, kind of just starting to, become familiarized with it.
This is a dumb question, but I'm just asking it just to be completely sure. I'm like 99% sure, but just to confirm, it's Rodgers and Hammerstein, right?
No.
Oh, it's not. Oh, shit.
Nope.
Okay,
I'm
glad I asked, Monkey. I was like dead sure it was.
I'm not sure I have seen a Rodgers and Hammerstein show on Broadway.
I think I'm thinking of. Well,
Garrett did.
I'm
with
thinking of
Carousel.
King and I, because King and I is like a very similar plot to My Fair Lady.
Kind of, yeah. And King and I, the most recent King and I was in the same theater.
Oh, okay, nice.
And yeah, and it is a cool theater. It's actually a part of Lincoln Center. So, this big, if you don't know, for any viewers who may not know what Lincoln Center is, it's like this kind of famous performing arts center in New York City. So it's where the Metropolitan Opera is.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, this is the one, and yeah, they also have a few theaters there. And so like the Vivian Beaumont Theater is the one Broadway eligible house that isn't in the theater district.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. It's got a really nice lobby too. It's big. You got these big glass windows looking outside. There's actually tables to sit at.
Oh, wow. Shit, fancy.
Yeah, and then the theater is neat
There's
too.
tables and chairs at Spreckles, Monkey, if you're into that shit.
Good to know. Okay. So, and the actual auditorium, I wouldn't say it's the fanciest, but it's still a pretty cool setup because it's in a thrust. So I sent you a picture of it, where it's the seating is in a semicircle.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and part of the stage juts out into the auditorium.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the only permanent thrust stage on Broadway. Like the one that had Fun Home and currently has Island, has done thrust in the past, but not always. This is.
Mm-hmm.
And the seats weren't, and it seemed like even the back of the orchestra wasn't too far away. So good to know. I mean, the balcony, loge, whatever area seemed a bit too high for my liking, but I wasn't there. I was elsewhere. And the design of the theater worked out well for the horse race scene, because whenever you would hear the races, it sounded like the horses were galloping around the audience.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, Your Lady, it's a nice one. Maybe not entirely my thing, at least at the moment. Still a nicely done production. Acted and scenically. The set for Henry Higgins' house was real cool, because it was say the back of the set would open up, the house would slide out onto the partially onto the thrust, so onto this big turntable that they would use. And so then, and it was this pretty cool house to begin with, say his library and such, and then they would rotate it around to show other rooms in the house.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And My Fair Lady, it's got some classic songs, of course. And yeah, that was nice. I liked the orchestra with this one because it didn't sound like it was just pumped in through the speakers. It did kind of feel like, yeah, there's an actual orchestra down there playing this music. And there was also a nice little surprise.
Spreckles is really interesting because it's literally in a pit.
How do you mean?
Well, there's a stage, and then the pit is literally it's a whole story down from the stage. So it's a good 8 to 10 feet down from the stage, in its own little pit area, and you can hardly even see them as you walk by. It's so far down.
This would have been fun for you because 10 years ago, this theater had this big famous revival of South Pacific. And I guess for the overture, they pulled back the thrust and showed so you could see the orchestra playing the overture.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I love the South Pacific overture.
Yeah. This one didn't do that, but they did have a really cool little surprise with the orchestra at the top of Act 2.
Nice.
Which I'll not give away for those who haven't seen it, but whatever. So, also, Jordan fucking Donica. Somehow, I don't know how this has happened, but somehow I've managed to catch, all 3 of his big breaks that he's had lately. Like Phantom of the Opera, Hamilton in LA, and now My Fair Lady.
Aw.
And
now remind
I
me,
mentioned
was in Hamilton?
Jefferson.
Oh, okay, right.
And he sounded, and of course, one of the greatest things about his performance in Hamilton was that it was like so different from, the
From
other
Daveed
two
Diggs.
roles.
Yeah.
I mean, then his other two roles, like
Oh yeah, right.
in Phantom and Lady, where, he was the love interest, the dashing love interest. And he's great in all three of those roles, of course. Like, it's great that he can do such for versatility.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, he fucking stole this one.
I seem to remember him being like one of the big, like maybe like in the top 3 of people in Hamilton for me.
Mm-hmm.
That might be because I'm just very partial to the Jefferson character. I like that he's pretty much a pimp in that show, but
But yeah, and of course, he plays a totally different role here, and he's not in it much. But I mean, just his big solo alone, he is so good.
Nice.
Like his voice is so good.
All right.
Like like I said, he stole it.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
yeah, and like the moment he was announced for this one, I was like, that is perfect casting. So yeah. Can't wait to see what he does next.
I don't mean to be rude with this, but how many more do we have?
3.
3. Okay, any chance we could get this done before 9?
I would hope so.
Okay. All right, let's move right along.
Yeah. So then that night, I got to see this year's Tony winner for Best Musical, The Band's Visit.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about this. This might be the one I'm most looking forward to hearing about. Okay, so I listened to about half the soundtrack, Monkey. Honestly, one of the reasons why I kind of phased out is that the plot was it seemed very, very similar to Come From Away.
It's funny. It is the same basic premise, but I mean, they're both two different approaches to it, I'd say.
Sure. I'm sure.
Like, whereas Come From Away is, this, big, like, constantly, this big fast-paced thing, kind of, like, emotional in both the highs and the lows, and Band's Visit is like very little plot, very sedate, like it's like an independent movie.
That's what you described, and I'm kind of.
It is based on it. It was based on an independent movie, so make of that what you will. But nevertheless,
I believe the movie was based on one best foreign film the year it came out.
I thought there was like some dispute that, like, there was something where it was ruled ineligible because there was too much English.
Oh, was there?
Maybe.
I'm gonna look this up and fact check it. But Monkey, the big thing I want to know about: how was Shaloub?
Is not in it.
What? You didn't see Shaloub?
No, like he'd left sometime earlier in this year, and then he came back for a little while around the Tonys.
Man, because I saw him in the credits, and I was like, "Oh man, Monkey saw Shaloub."
And then he left right after the Tonys.
Dude, oh, I'm sorry, man. That was like the person that I was kind of like hyping up, like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear about that person."
No, but however, his replacement was a brilliant piece of recasting.
Cool. Glad to hear.
Because the guy who's playing him now, the guy who I saw, is the actor who played that role in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's almost even cooler.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm totally fine that it's one of those cases where, yeah, it would have been cool to see Shaloub, but I'm totally fine that I saw this guy. Sesong Gabai.
Like, honestly, just for the whole, like, authenticity of it all, that's actually really badass.
Yeah. I mean, how many other shows on Broadway can boast that, besides Aladdin?
God.
But yeah, so I like The Band's Visit. Like, I don't know if it's when I go like super rush, like, oh my god, The Band's Visit, I'm geeking out over it. But I do think it's a good one. I agree with it winning Best Musical. What was it? I mean, it's like and of course, you got to know what you're getting into going into this. Know that this isn't a typical Broadway musical.
Right.
Yeah. And And of course, like, don't see it like at the end of a super long, tiring day.
Oh yeah, that like if this was your first like matinee show, you would have been fucked.
Something like that. Without rest. Like, yeah. Although, a bit of casting I think you'll appreciate. The last Mark Cohen is in it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he looks totally different.
Naturally.
I mean, it's like he has this long hair in the show. So yeah, and something I kind of like about it is with this show is how, say, it's a show where, you know, it's like nothing happens. Like they even say in the show that nothing important happened.
I like that. I like that it's kind of like a thesis statement. It kind of sets you like, oh man, then what is going to be this show?
Yeah, it's pretty cool at the beginning. I'll give this away because it's right at the beginning, and it also had a bit of an independent movie feel where it's like, you know, the house lights go off, the theater is dark, and then text appears on the curtain, like a prologue text, like once not long ago, an Egyptian band wound up in an Israeli town, yada yada. That was neat. That was a neat touch.
Cool.
So yeah, but I mean, in the case where it's like, you know, nothing happens supposedly, but at the same time, like, you know, everybody is affected by it. Like, it's still like everyone is affected somehow by this experience. The characters, I mean, of course. So yeah, it is a good one. Glad I caught it. Glad I managed to catch it.
Awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, this was the night where I also stopped by Hershey's Chocolate World, which, okay, so, I mean, they probably sell chocolate at SpongeBob, but, you know, this Hershey's store is right across from the SpongeBob stage door. Insert all chocolate jokes.
Oh, God. Yes, yes. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and I stopped there. It's a new Hershey location. It used to be in a different spot, but now it's in a different spot, and it is bigger than it was before. More, you know, it looks cooler inside there. And I got myself a big s'more. I lasted 3 bites. That s'more was like the main disappointment of the trip.
Oh, really? What was it? Basically your equivalent to my lard lad?
I was thinking about that.
Oh, God.
I've made that comparison, yes. You lasted 3 bites with that, right?
I'm sorry, I took more than 3 bites?
You lasted 3 bites?
I probably did, yeah. I remember at a certain point, I was like, I remember at a certain point during that lard lad experience, I was like, well, maybe I could just eat the bacon.
That also kind of matches my experience, although I was sort of wondering, like, what is it about this? Is it the graham cracker? Is it the marshmallow? I don't know. Well, at least I know for the future. Yep. It's off the list.
So that Hershey's place, it kind of sounds like the Coca-Cola Club at Disney Springs. And I only bring it up because that was like literally the most random thing that my grandma and I did the entire Disney World trip was get a picture with the Coca-Cola bear.
I love that picture.
That was single-handedly the most random part of that whole trip.
Well, now I wish that the M&M store in Times Square had a walk-around M&M character. Yeah, what was it? This was the morning where I passed by some, you know, I guess year-round Christmas shop that exists. Like, I look over to the window and suddenly these weird elf animatronics in the windows. And there's other displays, and I'm like, okay, I guess the Christmas overlay for the Knott's Berry Farm log ride moved here.
Right.
I'm not sure which elves were creepier, but still. And yeah, so then the next day, like, go to Greenwich Village and I get a bit of a humbling, and like, okay, take me out of the theater district, and I don't know the layout of New York as enough.
Yep. I had that exact same experience with San Francisco and the Presidio district.
Yeah. But anyway, so we go there to see, Band's Visit was the last Broadway production of the trip. Because the last remaining 2 shows were off Broadway, beginning with Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Yeah, and this had a really, you want to describe the setup of this?
Yeah, I love that comment you had on Garrett's photo, like, OMG, is that the set? So you hadn't realized how it was set up.
Yeah, I really hadn't.
Yeah, and this is, and part of my attraction was, as a fan of the Great Comet staging, because so this was originally done in London in an actual old pie shop.
Oh man. Huh.
So yeah, it got recreated in the West End, then it got recreated in New York.
Uh-huh.
And it was pretty cool. Like this has never been an open run production. It just kept getting extended until they finally stopped extending it. So it ran like a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the longest running production of Sweeney Todd out there.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's like you're sitting in a pie shop as the show goes on. And sometimes they interact with people sitting at the tables. And yeah. What was I thinking? And yeah, and also, I was at the second to last performance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always a question. What shows are gonna not be there by the time I make it out there again? Like, in this case, like 2 of them had closed by the time I was on the plane back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this and Dolly.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, SpongeBob is still got a couple weeks left.
Uh-huh.
Everything else is still there. Yeah. I do wish that Todd and maybe also Dolly were closed like around the same time as SpongeBob, just because there's this one thing that starts previews this week on Broadway. It's called The Nap, and I really, really, really wish I could have seen it. Mainly because I actually know someone who's in it, and they're they're like one of the greatest people I've ever met. So
awesome.
So yeah, was it the marquee for The Nap went up like shortly, like on this same day, I believe, and it was so cool to see them on that them on the theater ads and such outside.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so anyway, back to Sweeney Todd. Now I won't lie, it may have taken me a bit to get into it, like say towards the end of Act 1 with the Epiphany. It's still a clever staging.
Sweeney Todd is one of those shows where it's like, I really like the story of Sweeney Todd. I'm not huge on the music.
It varies for me with the music, I'd say. I mean, I won't lie. I mean, people call My Fair Lady the perfect musical. I don't know if I wouldn't say I'm in that camp. And I wouldn't say I'm in the camp of calling Sweeney Todd the perfect musical, but I would be more likely to be in that camp. And part of what helped me get into it more, I think, is, of course, the story gets so good especially as it goes along, especially that ending. Like, that ending is so brilliant. And, and also with this production, at the end, when Toby finds Todd, at the end, I never want to forget that scene in this production. Like, say there's a point where it's like, by one point, both of them are sobbing.
Uh-huh.
It was incredible.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, and I also liked the orchestra with this one. Like, it's 3 people, but it definitely worked. It didn't feel like too cut down.
Sometimes I like intimate orchestras like that.
Yeah, it varies. Like, say, there's another production of Sweeney Todd that had a pared down orchestra, and I'm not crazy about that one. Like, with this, it felt more effective, I'd say. The highlights of the cast for me were the actors playing... I mean, good cast, of course. I'd say the 2 that stuck out to me were Sweeney Todd and Joanna.
Okay.
Like, their portrayals of the roles and, their emotional availability and such, stuck out to me. I'm really glad this Tom Sesma is Sweeney Todd. I'm really glad that he's the first Sweeney Todd I saw live.
Cool.
This is the first time I'd actually seen the show live. I'd seen the George Hearn taping. I'd read of the show, but never seen it live.
I'm sure you've seen the Burden movie.
Oh yeah, I saw the movie too. It was funny. There were moments where I thought the judge in this sounded a little like Alan Rickman. And yeah, but yeah, Tom Sesma, incredible as Sweeney Todd. Hope our paths cross again one day.
Nice.
And yeah, so then back up for the final show of this trip.
And also perhaps the final time you see this show that's become a tradition for you.
How do you mean?
Well, didn't you say there was an era finality to it?
I mean, end of the trip.
Oh, okay. You see, when you said that, I thought the theater was closing.
Oh no, thank God.
Yeah, because I was like,
like we're closing down, everybody. I mean, I know we just took on Jersey Boys, but we're going away. Like, we're putting 5 theaters out of business.
God.
I mean, maybe Q would find another home, but still. But yeah, back to round it out with Avenue Q as always. Well, except the first time where I saw it in the middle, but
been a tradition for you for this to be the last show of your trip.
Except for the first time I was in New York, ironically.
Nice.
Especially ironic because Q was the main reason we took that trip. But yeah, I figure, the place that show has for me and that final number is such a good one to end on. And it gets a good walk back to the hotel from there to passing by the theater district one last time.
Uh-huh.
It's still always incredible to see these puppets live.
Oh, I'm sure.
And, yeah. I think the only thing for me is that, like one of the downsides of knowing the show word for word is like it's not as fresh for me as it could be.
I mean, your mother knows I kind of had that experience with Rent.
Wow, I didn't know that about you.
Well, no, because like I'm surprised your mom never told you this. When I saw Rent, with you in it, I was like lip syncing the entire time, dude. The entire time.
Yeah, but I didn't know it was a case of where it's like not as fresh for you anymore.
Well, I mean, you know me. Like, even though that was my first time seeing Rent live, and don't get me wrong,
granted, of course, Rent. Just saying, in someone's defense, this was a staging you had never seen before. This was my 7th time seeing Avenue Q, and I mean, 4th time in New York, but still 7th overall.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. And Monkey, I've often said after seeing that staging that you guys did, I genuinely think that there's stuff in that staging that's better done than the Broadway version. I really do.
Thanks. I don't entirely disagree.
But I fucking love those staircases, man.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, it should definitely come in handy, should I, assuming I do manage to make it into this production, like, okay, it's going to be, we don't have to teach him as much. But,
right.
but, still, while I'm still stuck here watching it, I shouldn't say stuck here, while I'm still in this case where I just watch it, it's like, I mean, and maybe it was this time because I think I still got some freshness out of it last time.
Uh-huh.
But whatever, I'm complaining. I'm like, this time seeing Avenue Q wasn't as quite as fresh as it could have been, especially compared to the other 6 times I've seen it. This hashtag ignoring privilege.
Oh, God. Monkey, I bet you I'm going to do that. I'm going to do similar shit with my Disney World trip all over the place.
Just saying, you're 2nd. This was my 7th.
Well, I know, but it's my 2nd.
I know. Yeah. Fair enough. Like, I mean, of course, I still love Avenue Q, of course. It's still a classic show, of course.
No, this just killed it for you, Monkey.
I wouldn't say killed it entirely.
I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah. I mean, at least I know, okay, I know what happened last time. I can find ways to prepare myself for next time so that I can still have the freshness. Whatever. And also like, just remember, it'll help you later. It'll help you, so you don't have to learn as much.
God.
You'll know your lines already.
Right.
Even the lines you don't need to know.
All right.
But so
is that about it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, just a side note, it is pretty cool. Like Avenue Q turned 15 this year.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah. So
I
yeah,
guess
did
any
that.
final thoughts, Monkey? I'm kind of chomping at the bits to both watch Better Call Saul and go to bed at the same time, and I can't decide what one I'm looking forward to more. So
Let's see. So, a good trip. Like I'd say this was in my top out of the 4 times I've been there to NY, I'd say top 2.
oh, nice.
Maybe 2, but
I mean,
I'd
I
say
know
there's
you
also
struggled
arguments for
with
1.
the fact that it was only a 4-day trip, Monkey. I know that very much weighed on you.
Yeah, that
Not to
kind
get
of
back to
factors
the
in too.
personal problems or anything.
Yeah. I'd say this was probably one of the strongest selections of shows I've
It
had.
seems like it. It seems like
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I just want to
Yeah.
let you know, Monkey, I can totally relate to that 4 days thing because even though I was in Disney World for a week, I only had 4 Disney park days.
Oh yeah.
And so after the end of that Thursday, I was like, man, I only have 1 Disney park day left. Fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, had a moment of that. But yeah, hoping to make it out again, not too far from now. Like personally, I'd like to find a way back there in the spring, like Kiss Me Kate. Hopefully if King Kong is still around then.
Yeah, you and Garrett are both like really fascinated with King Kong.
Yeah.
I can't say I blame you. The giant puppet sounds incredible.
Yeah. And hey, maybe Beetlejuice will be up by then and it'll be in a theater I haven't been in.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's for the future. So yeah, this was a good trip. I know it's still at a point where even the day after it's like, oh, I guess that happened.
Yeah, right. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, someday shall happen again. Well, at least the location and at least 2 of the shows, because at least 3 of them are going to be gone by the next time I'm there. But nevertheless,
indeed. Okay, Monkey. Well, thank you so much for regaling us with your adventures, and
welcome.
Thank you, folks, for watching. And I don't know, Monkey. Should we do another Theater Geek soon?
Possibly.
Yeah,
especially if there's a good subject.
Perhaps Addams Family?
It's a possibility, but I'm not entirely sold on it.
Okay, I mean, I'm just saying that's the next one that I'm seeing, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, anyway, okay.
Okay, see you guys later, folks.
Night theater listeners.